Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we're going to talk about Batman Earth 1 Volume 2. Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I'm your host, Brent, and today we're going to be reviewing Batman Earth 1 Volume 2 because Batman Earth 1 Volume 3 is coming in the early beginning of June, so I reread Volumes 1 and 2 to prepare, and boy am I glad I did. But before we get into the review, let me ask you to do one thing. Please subscribe. Helps me out, lets you know when I drop new videos, helps the channel grow, all that great stuff. Hit that bell if you're really crazy. Now, Batman Earth 1 Volume 2. Again, this is the original graphic novel line from DC Comics. Yeah, they have some other ones that are mostly like the newer ones are more generated towards teens and stuff like that. But this is kind of, was a publishing initiative started way back in like the late aughts or early aughts, not early, but late aughts or something. There's 3 volumes of Superman with J. Michael Straczynski writing those. There's 3 volumes of Wonder Woman, which I've reviewed Volume 3 on this show. There's 2 volumes of Green Lantern. I've reviewed both of those on this channel. And now we're going to have 3 volumes of Batman. This is the second review. I did a review of Volume 1, so you can go check that out if you haven't already watched it. You can check all those reviews out on the reviews playlist. But let's talk about Earth 1 Volume 2. So this is by Geoff Johns, Gary Frank. We've got some other creators on the cover here. John Seibald doing the inks, Brad Anderson doing the colors. Again, I love this layout with the ribbon and the cover. It just feels so nice to hold in your hands. Like the spine gives you like a little grip when you're holding it and reading it. Most of these retail for like 20-25 bucks. I think you could still find the hardcovers out there. I have seen some softcover editions. So get whatever's available if you're checking them out for the first time. You can also get them on Comixology from time to time at a good price. But Batman Earth 1 Volume 2 is a really good book. Compared to the first volume, if you had to do which was better, I think Volume 1 is better. It's got a lot of the origin stuff in there. It's got a lot of the cool twists about his mom, Bruce Wayne's mother, being in Arkham, that being her maiden name. Yeah, this does have the same little shiny cover thing that I love about the first one. But this one all around, there's no flashbacks or anything like that. It's a straight up story from beginning to end. It's an adventure with Batman. It does take place, it tells us, 6 months after the end of Volume 1, where Mayor Cobblepot, the Penguin, died. And Bruce is slowly becoming his way onto the Batman we know and love. Although it seems like, Earth 1, the first volume didn't really make it clear that he was as unknowledgeable or beginner as he was. He was beating some thugs. There's a lot of flashbacks, a lot of discussions and stuff like that. It's in this book that we kind of discover that he's not that great a fighter. He's not a detective at all. In fact, he doesn't really know he needs to be one until he's talking to Gordon in this issue, in this graphic novel. But what is cool is there's some parallels, and I'm interested to see if they do this again in Volume 3. So the first volume started out with Batman jumping across a rooftop and failing. This book opens up Batman jumping across a rooftop, and then actually doing it, getting the bad guy, and then we're getting like similar, almost like a repetition of layouts and of themes. We're seeing the progression of Batman early on in this volume. So I'm interested to see how they do this in Volume 3 if they continue to do that. Now, it has been quite a long time since this came out. This was the first volume was in 2012. This one came out in 2015, so almost a little bit, 3 years later. That's not too bad. But from Volume 2, 2015, to Volume 3 in 2021, that's quite a bit of years. Even though I know Gary Frank has not delved in quality like his art, and I didn't talk about this in the review of Volume 1 so a lot, if at all. But Gary Frank is a phenomenal artist, don't get me wrong. He does a lot of the heavy lifting here, and it's fantastic. I will be interested to see how Volume 3 reads. I was reading Volume 1, had a great time with it, and I was reading Volume 2 here, and it's got the normal comics layout thing going on, like, as many panels per page as the writer says it needs and stuff like that. With Doomsday Clock, when Geoff Johns and Gary Frank teamed up for that, they went to the Watchmen 9-panel grid. And I believe, I can't remember, there was something else I read by Gary Frank that did the same thing. So I'm hoping that for Volume 3, it doesn't do the 9-panel grid, and it does more of this kind of regular, I guess, mishmash. I mean, it sounds bad to give it this nondescript word, but regular, average comic layout instead of the 9-panel grid, because there's a lot of stuff on this page, on these pages, that works really well, and you're able to give your character some big kind of semi splashes in here. There's not a whole lot of double page splashes in these graphic novels, which I think is a good thing. I mean, they know it's going to be bound like this in a hardcover format, and this is a glued binding. If you can see that, there's no ribbon or anything. There's no eye like these fancy omnibuses that everybody else is collecting except me. So if there is a splash page, there is some gutter loss. I'm trying to find. Here's one. So you can kind of. It's not too bad, and I think they lay it out in enough way that they know that. Okay, on the left page you need to focus, on the right page you need to focus, and try not to put like a face or anything in the middle, like Adam Kubert does a whole lot. I hate his splash pages because he always ends up putting a face or something right in the middle, and it's like, dude, yeah, it looks great on the page when it's on your drawing board, but when it's printed anywhere else other than your original art, it looks terrible. But Gary Frank, John Seibel, doing the inks here, Brad Anderson, phenomenal work on the colors. Cannot give these guys enough credit. It's a beautiful, beautiful book, just like Volume 1. So what is the story of Volume 2? Well, it's pretty much Bruce Wayne, growing as Batman in, going up against the Riddler. And at the same time trying to figure out why Gotham is still so corrupt even after Mayor Cobblepot was taken out at the end of the first volume. So he comes across, he's working with James Gordon. That relationship is progressing here. We encounter Killer Croc, Waylon Jones, which I showcased here. That's a fun thing. Not really he's not really a criminal in this book, which is another twist that I like, is that he's, at the end he's kind of not quite teamed up with Batman, but he's like, hey, I don't want to go back to the sewers. Can you help me out? And that's where the book leaves off, is Bruce is helping out Killer Croc somehow. There is more, like the progression here happens on every level. The Batsuit gets a new progression, again for another time. The relationship with Gordon gets a progression. He gets a bat signal in here. I'm not going to spoil what it is or what it looks like for you. Lucius Fox was one guy fixing up gadgets 6 months ago in Volume 1. In the world story time, basically, and then now 6 months later he's the head of a team that are building gadgets. But every time they get close to finishing one, thinking they're going to put it out as a product or something, apparently Bruce Wayne changes his mind and wants something else. And so here's a humorous page at the end. They were working on what probably will become the Batmobile. Hopefully we'll see it in Volume 3. And they're saying, well, Bruce doesn't want the car anymore. He's got something else in mind. And these guys are so frustrated that they never get to finish a product and put their name on it and say, hey, I designed that. I worked that. That everything just gets shuffled out of R&D into the storage spaces for Batman to use. But, this guy's exhausted in the corner here. He's scratching his head. It's just little touches like that are inventive and still reminiscent of things before, but shining a bigger light on it, the way that Geoff Johns does here, is what makes this series so much fun to read. And I think also too, like, if you know a lot of the Batman mythos, there's a whole lot of things to delve in here. You got Sal Maroni here, who's not quite the mobster you think, but he's like this snaggle-toothed gangster guy, or just an average criminal. The Dents are in here, and I say Dents as not Harvey and Gilda from Long Halloween, husband and wife, but Harvey and Jessica Dent, brother and sister, and they're twins. And they were kind of introduced in the first volume, but they're major characters here. Jessica Dent is actually mayor of Gotham once Cobblepot is taken out, and her brother Harvey, the character we all know and love, is the district attorney. So they kind of have a weird relationship with Bruce Wayne. They knew him as kids. Jessica and Bruce had a thing going at one time. Harvey doesn't like Bruce because he's an Arkham. Remember, we're returning to that theme of the Arkhams were generally crazy. You know, they built Gotham City as this maze, and anybody who has a relationship to the Arkham family eventually does go crazy. So, you know, Harvey is trying to prevent Jessica at all times, basically, from interacting with Bruce because he knows she loves him, but he doesn't want to bring that craziness into the Dent family. So it's a little bit of push and pull between these two characters, where normally you'd expect Harvey and Bruce to be best buds because that's how you've seen them in The Long Halloween or the Dark Knight movies, stuff like that. But again, we're introducing this Arkham twist is giving us new avenues to explore. Also, the end of this book is I don't know if it's setting up Two-Face. We will have to wait and see. But if it is, it's definitely not the Two-Face you're expecting. So that will be fun to find out in Volume 3. Lots of stuff to look forward to with Volume 3, but this book is also good too. Like, you know, we talked about how he's going up against the Riddler. The Riddler here, you don't really see him except for like a couple of panels. So I'm curious to see in The Batman from Matt Reeves that's going to come out next year, that movie, if it's going to pull from any of this Earth 1 stuff. The Riddler here does, have riddles. It's not Riddle Me This, Batman. It's not Jim Carrey or anything like that. It's more along the lines like, it's kind of curious that this was probably coming out about the same time as Batman Year Zero from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, and that had the Riddler in there too. And I think they're a little bit similar, even though that storyline had a lot more Riddler in it than this one does, even though he's the main villain, that they're chasing. But the Riddler here is working for somebody, and he's posing riddles, and he's like, the twist is he's not really, he doesn't care if you answer the riddle, basically. So he's doing what he's doing with the guise of being a criminal mastermind, but he really doesn't care if you know the answer to the riddle. So that's a new fun thing to explore here in this Batman continuity. He's like, no, he's not really a crazy guy. He's just, trying to disguise and make it more fun for himself, but really he's just out to kill a whole bunch of people for reasons that are explained in here. So that's good. And the riddles, honestly, not all that good. There's one in here about the paint, which I thought was pretty poor. Pun intended, if you remember what I'm talking about, or go look it up. But all in all, I think it's more about progressing Batman and the Dents and Gordon into the areas where I think we're going to see them in Volume 3. So that's fun. All in all, I really like this. Not as strong as Volume 1, but I think it's got a whole lot of setup, hopefully, for Volume 3, and we will see that be the grand finale. So it'll be interesting to compare Volume 3 of Batman Earth 1 to Volume 3 of Wonder Woman Earth 1. I loved Wonder Woman Earth 2, or Volume 2, Wonder Woman Earth 1, Volume 2. All these ones make it hard to talk about. I love that one. I read Volume 3. I have the review up on the channel. I didn't really love it as much as I loved Volume 2, even though it was like a big grand finale and kind of wrapped up a whole bunch of loose ends. So it'll be interesting to see how Volume 3 comes out here at the beginning of June 2021. So let me know what you guys think of Batman Earth 1 graphic novel line. Do you guys think this is as good as I do? Are you a fan? What don't you like about it, and what do you like about it? I think it's phenomenal. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Let's chat. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time here in the Funny Pages.